This is Ann Wilson.
Luke here with For King and Country.
This is Matt Redman.
Hey everybody, this is Stephen Curtis Chapman.
This is Tim Hawkins.
This is Taya. This is Tasha Lane.
What's up, everybody? It's Matthew West here, and you're listening to the Christian Music Guys podcast.
All right, we're back here at Rickson Entertainment with the one and the only Logan Sekulow. Logan, thanks so much, man.
I'm thrilled to be here, guys. I am a fan. I've been friendly with you for I feel like a number of years, and man, to have a cool light talking about Christian music in a way that's kind of non-cynical and fun and entertaining, I love it.
Yeah. Well, let's get down to business here.
Well, before 1 second, we're the kind of people that interrupt each other, Logan. So
don't worry, I will too.
We're talking about, classic Christian music, and that's what we do. And you said you listened to that. Yeah. I just want to point out his hoodie, Riot, Carman.
Yeah, Righteous Invasion
years.
of Truth.
My favorite Carman years were Riot years. Well, it's that, and man, what was the big? He did the one with the arena, and the mascots came out. If we repeat, that one. But what was that?
Satan by the Dust is like the cowboy, music video. That's my favorite.
Those were fun, but I think Riot beats those years.
In the arena, he did the big Houston or the Dallas Cowboys stadium, the only stadium act in Christian music. So
do you have a favorite Carman era? Would it be Riot or
maybe a little bit before Riot? Addicted to Jesus, and then coming after that. Revival in the Land, some of those eras, and then he did a song called "Our Turn Now" with the guys from Petra, who have become friends with over the years.
Oh man!
And technically, my dad wrote the opening line of that song, so we have I guess it's a silver platinum. It's a platinum record. I don't know. It's a silver platinum record of that in our office that was presented to him because technically. The first line of that song, and it's about like prayer in school. Yeah. And the first line of that song is the ball got dropped in 62, which is when prayer was removed from school. Mm-hmm. And my dad said that to Carman because we were friendly over the years. We used to honestly, like my dad would kind of tour a little bit with Carman, would open up or kind of midway through a show, go out and speak about some of the work we were doing. Yeah. So we were friends with him for, a long time, 30 years. And I loved him. And I was just a huge fan. And I'm glad to see there are some acts now. Sad that's after he passed, but you have acts like For King and Country who kind of do the same kind of theatrics. Yeah. And definitely are giving him the love in the way they talk about it. And I think that's going to show up hopefully in their movie that comes out soon.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those like pioneers in CCM as far as like what he was doing in a live show. So you said you prefer singing Carman over rapping Carman.
Oh, I don't know though. Then there was like the talking cat Carman, the kids, Yo Kids, which has the Hanson boys in it too. If you watch that, as Taylor and Isaac Hanson from Hanson.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know all the Carman facts. So we could just talk about that for hours. And
he's the one that said Bop first.
Yeah, maybe so. And they do a couple of they're like little kids in Oklahoma, and they're in those videos, so you can go watch that.
Oh wow!
Just a talented guy, creative, maybe to the point of it being an issue later on. Just the fact that I think he was incredibly creative and innovative, and there was no one like him. Unlike you could say there are times in Christian music where it's like, well, yeah, we'd certainly emulated what was going on in culture. I don't think anyone was doing what Carman was doing anywhere else on the planet.
I didn't know another middle-aged Italian man who sang, one time, who became a rapper
with a lot of hair
through his career.
Became a rapper and an actor and was spoken word and was just a interesting theatrical Vegas style act in the middle of Christian music. And I do, there's like movies like the Jesus music and those that have come out over the years, and I do wish they'd give him a little bit more credit. I like those guys, and I think they're good guys, and they've put out some incredible, beautiful movies. But there was moments in that movie where I was like, man, you're leaving out two big moments, but I'll just say Carman was the one where I was like, he's very briefly mentioned. There's like a little like post-credit Satan Bite the Dust, and it's like the only stadium act in Christian music. So, it's controversial as maybe looking back on it can be, or maybe as some people would say, there's some cringy moments looking back. I don't feel that way, but clearly that's how some people feel. I think you need to give him a little more respect. So, but I won't spend here just talking about Carman but I will.
Hey, listen, I started the ball. I started that rolling.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk about Christian music.
You were asking for it coming here with that hoodie on. That's 100%. All I'm saying, okay?
100%.
Well, one of my first interactions with you when I was first introduced to you is when you did the Logan show.
Yes.
Many moons ago.
I did.
And I do have a picture, Logan.
Oh, good.
That I found on the internet. And
no. Oh, I can already see it. Yeah.
Let's explain this picture. What?
I wish I could really remember.
Do you still have that white teddy bear thingy?
I don't think so. Let me see it. So, obviously had flat iron hair. This was 2004, 2003, or maybe 2005. So I would have been 20, maybe 19. I'm clutching a teddy bear. I do think, you know what I think this was? I did a segment of the show. If you don't know, it was a late night talk show, kind of like a Jimmy Fallon, like Tonight Show style for Christian entertainment, Christian teens. It was the number one teen show in Christian television. Pre-social media, really the beginning of MySpace. I wish we were a little later because I think we would have I still hear from people almost every week about the show. And it's been 20 years or so since we've done. I mean, we wrapped in 2008, so it's not been that long, but we started in 2004. I moved here to Nashville to do it in 2004, so 20 years ago almost.
And you had several like artists on there.
Yeah, every week. That one was because I think what that was I believe backstage at Brian Littrell from the Backstreet Boys had a Christian music career for a little bit. And I believe I did a segment with him, and I think that's what that's from because I was like an obsessive fan. Because I was always willing to just play. Like if people would come along and play, I was down. And Brian was one of those people. Joel Osteen was one of those people who was just like down to have fun. And like he didn't care if you poked fun at him. He would happily poke fun at himself and would, again, it has been a guy who's been very supportive in general, but those ones stick out. And tons of people. And people, what's cool with that is that in 20 years of doing, or it's been 20 years since I've really been actively involved in Christian music traditionally. And I'd say those years I did from 2004 to 2008. Every week we had on another, big guest. Some of them have obviously disappeared and you never hear from them again. Some were Need to Breathe. Some were, Toby and those guys who came on. And some of them are my closest friends still, like the guys in Sanctus Real. I still love those guys. And I see Matt often. And I went to go see them. They came to Franklin Theater here just down the street just like a week or two ago. And some of those relationships in the Christian music industry, I really hold close. And I loved my time doing it, even if we were avant-garde and weird. And we were. And
so there's got to be that guy.
And look, I think that there was good and bad with that. The good was we were trying something very different. Like we had a co-host that was a talking robot snowman before Craig Ferguson was doing the robot, version of his like thing. But the same concept, but we were doing that way early. And Christian music, as much as I love it, was not ready for that. And you'd have people on set just not cool with it. You'd have publicists not cool with it.
Yeah, like what's happening.
And you had to have people who, that's why I like what you guys are doing, because it maybe, because we were a little weird and a little different, I think we attracted an audience. But because of that also, my feelings on dealing with publicists and management and all that sometimes gets a little fuzzy because I remember those days of being like 19 to be like, y'all don't get this joke, like you're not in on it, like aren't you willing to play and have fun? And the ones that did stuck out, so it was a good time. It was a lot of work, and I was coming off of working at Nickelodeon, so to come right off of that to then working in Christian television was cool. And a lot of those writers from Nickelodeon wrote for me, and we were able to bring something different at the time. Again, I wish it was now. I really do. I wish it was in a post. Like, we had a YouTube channel that was mostly the band performances. I think it's still up there. That has millions of views because there are people like that use it as music videos. Like Aaron Schust for My Savior, My God, his big, huge hit. The only video of that for years was his performance on our show. Wednesday Sanctus, they opened with like a montage of their history. We're in there. And I go, that's very cool. Like, I like that part of it. Like, there's still moments, and every few years we talk about doing something, but in somewhat I work with so many of the same people, so it kind of feels like we never stopped. And now we're doing this movie, and it's kind of in the same wheelhouse.
Well, speaking of movie, speaking of smelly situations, I don't know about that.
We can fix that.
I liked it. It was fine. That was good.
Jingle Smells.
Jingle
Logan.
Smells.
Let's get into that. Tell us about this movie.
Jingle Smells is a new Christmas movie that's coming out this year, and we are really excited about it. It is a family Christmas comedy with big heart, big messages, but it's also at its core a fun movie. It deals with some pretty intense topics, whether that's cancel culture, whether that is PTSD for the military, but it does it in a way that is smooth and is fun, and you can watch it with your kids, or you can watch it as an adult. It doesn't matter. And it has a bit of that Christmas comedy vibe that I feel like we grew up on. So, 80s, 90s Christmas comedies, whether that's a Home Alone or a Christmas Vacation, maybe not in the language and those kind of things, but in this sort of, there's silliness and wackiness, and then there's also some pretty strong heart to it. I co-wrote it. It legitimately came up with, I was taking my kids, I was at like the dining room table with my kids and the trash was full, and I picked up the trash bag, tied it up, threw it over my shoulder like Santa Claus, just went ho ho ho, and the kids laughed, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting concept, like the trash man Santa, and it evolved into what it became, and I got with my co-writer, and we developed this script a couple of years ago, and then we didn't think anything was going to happen. We pitched it around, it kind of lived in development, never really got anywhere. We believed in it, and we believed in it enough to where I said, I don't want to just go make this movie like with our friends. Originally that's what it was. It was like written for, I was going to be the lead, and we were just going to like make it goofy, but this script was really good, and I'm like, I'm really proud of the script. We need to do this right if the time comes. And years pass and you change, things move on.
Right.
And then Hollywood decided to go on strike. And when that happened, there was a lot of crews who were without work.
Yeah.
And one of them, a director friend of ours, Daniel Lusko, came to us and pretty much was like, I have a crew. What do you got? And I said, well, here's like 4 ideas. And then we have this finished script that's just sitting here. It needs to be refreshed a little, but it's there. He read it, loved it. And we worked with his production company. And I'm the executive producer and co-writer on it. And I spent a lot of time on the casting, a lot of time on, right before here, I was watching an edit of it. We're almost locked, like it's almost done when we're recording this. It's a really fun piece. I'm very proud of it. And I think that hopefully it's something that you can watch every year and it becomes a tradition. That's always the hope when you make something like this. And it's got a cool cast too. I mean, I think that's mainly what it's wild to see who's in this movie. If you're a fan, especially if you're a kid who grew up in the 80s and 90s, like there's just a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah. Now, so you mentioned a few of the classics, your Christmas Vacation and different things. So when I was watching it, and I definitely see the Cousin Eddie character in this movie. I know who that is. But like when I was watching it, the vibes I were getting, it was reminding me of Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, like, when you mentioned it, I was going to ask you that, like, what movies inspired you while you were kind of creating this one? Yeah.
There's toys in it, so that makes sense. Well, those are the movies we all grew up on. I think that a Jingle All the Way, I love it. I played it for my kids last year. When it comes to this, it does have a lot of personal influences. So to me, I look at it and go, like, I'm a big toy collector. So I have a huge action figure collection. So I was like, well, if I'm going to tell a story, I'm going to tell a story and use some of the verbiage that we all use in sort of the action figure community, the toy community. And then there's characters throughout. Like one of the characters is like a vlogger. And that guy, Dylan Postel, the actor, who's a pro wrestler, who's WWE's Hornswoggle, he's a huge toy collector. So he could speak the language without me even having to worry. So that character was written for him. It's like that, he was the perfect person. And then we worked with a lot of friends, and there were those moments where I can see elements of Christmas movies that have inspired it. But also where it's different between what Christmas movies are now. And the reason I try to say like it's an 80s, 90s kind of feeling Christmas comedy is I think now when you think of a Christmas movie, you think of like a romantic comedy. You think of a Lifetime movie or a Hallmark movie. Hallmark movies, which are, which are great, by the way. I'm a fan of those. If Hallmark or Lifetime wanted to make this movie, I would have been thrilled. But this movie's not like it has a romantic story subplot, but that's not the driving force. It's kind of a bro movie, it's a bunch of dudes. There are some strong female characters. Victoria Jackson from SNL plays a character. We have some strong female characters. Jacqueline Stapp plays a great character, but it's still kind of this. I don't know. It's got sort of feelings of a bro movie, a dude movie. In this sort of Christmas comedy. Not that women can't enjoy it or families, but it does have that when your leads are garbage men. And that's the story, by the way. The story is there's a Hollywood celebrity that gets canceled for pretty much nothing.
Highly offensive
things he says. You'll have to see what they are. Things I can't say on here. No, for practically nothing. And because of that, all his toys are pulled from the shelves. And when his toys are pulled from the shelves, they end up going to a warehouse to be destroyed. These garbage men find it, and the adventure begins, and they start sort of what we've called like a Robin Hood kind of story, where they start delivering toys to kids who are in need. So it's a sweet story. It's got a lot of heart. Even if it's called Jingle Smells and seems like it's just silly. Every person I've said, hey, it's a silly Christmas comedy, they've been like, no, it's not. They're like, it's a very sincere Christmas comedy. But to me, my influences, and maybe honestly where me and the co-writer, I think Bart Scott, who co-wrote it, who plays the troubadour in this movie, I think he is the heart. And maybe a funny guy, definitely funny, but he wrote a lot of the structure, and I would go in and kind of like pop in a joke and pop in a joke and pop in a joke, and that's kind of our process.
Yeah.
So I think that to me, I always look for the joke, and I think that there's a lot of heart in this movie, and I hope everyone enjoys it. I think it's going to be really fun, and it's completely independent. It is not run by a Hollywood studio. There's no one telling us what we can and can't say. So there are messages throughout the movie that would certainly not get probably made in Hollywood. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the fact that we can do it. And technology has advanced to where you can make movies like this, tell stories that are important, and not have anyone over your head saying, cut this or cut this. The only person saying cut this or cut this is me.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, our director, our editing team, everyone has voice. But at the end of the day, I'm making that call. Yeah. And so if a line gets cut, it's not because a studio executive and wherever says it's offensive. It's like, look, there's a reference in the movie to Israel and kind of something we shot this thing 4 weeks ago, or not 4 weeks ago. We shot this thing a couple months ago, right. And the war obviously happened pretty recently, and we had to kind of struggle a little bit with like, is this appropriate now to do it? Sure. And then inevitably we decided that's kind of the point of the movie, is to tell these stories that are different, that people aren't. It's, again, your kids aren't going to walk away cursing. There's no language in it. It's clean, but it does deal with some serious subject matter. But what doesn't? It's fun. So.
And you got a classic Christian rock group that sings like the anthem of the movie.
Yeah. So the Jingle Smells, the song. There is a performance in it by we'll say it's by the Sekulow band, my dad's band, but that is filled with a lot of names in Christian music. So John Schlitt from Petra is the lead singer of that band. You got John Lowry from Petra. Yeah. You've got Mark Lee Townsend, obviously producer and was the DC Talks main guy. Right. And Mark produced that track. And it's really fun. It's just Jingle Bells done. But there's a big musical performance at the end of the movie, spoiler, and they're all in it. And, my last movie we did, Mark Stewart from Audio Adrenaline was one of the main characters. And I always try to make sure all of my fandoms are accounted for. So in this one, there's obviously the band there at the end, which is great. And by the way, there's other people in the band. It's a fantastic band, Marco Pangalo and Scott, and a big group. They're a big band. And to me, it's like, okay, I wanted this to be a Christmas comedy, so I want comedy in it. So who are we going to get? All right, we're going to get a couple SNL cast members. We're going to get Victoria Jackson and Jim Brewer are going to come in and do this. And I got to give Jim Brewer came in. He hasn't been in a movie by his own decision in a long time. And he loved the mission of this movie and came in and killed it. He's so funny in it. And he is, I got connected with him through John Rich, who also donated a song essentially for this movie. A lot of people came in and did this. I got little voice cameos. There's a lot of stuff that's in there, and even stuff you guys haven't heard yet because it's not in the latest version. But like, again, all my pretty much all of my fandoms are accounted for in some ways, because God has opened some crazy doors to the people that I work with and get to hang out with. A lot of childhood heroes. So if I could sneak any of them in, even if I couldn't afford them, I'd be like, record this line and record this line. For those who don't know, look out for a talking parrot in the movie. That's voiced by a very specific person. Yeah. And the ones you guys haven't seen, there's a scene in a hospital, children's hospital, and you're going to hear like announcements happening. I don't know if you guys will get it, but if you do, let me know, because I get it. And I
have to see the new edit.
I know, you have to see when the final comes out, because I go, oh, this is total. I even told the actors, I was like, this is 100% for me. Like, there's no it's completely to make me giggle. Yeah, and that's okay.
So speaking of your fandoms, one of the ones that we've chatted with on like over messaging before is Christian rock. Yeah, that you're a huge Christian rock fan, and Jacob's kind of mentioned this to me before, but I don't know the whole story of how you got engaged at a Audio Adrenaline concert. Tell me about that.
Their final concert.
Is this the one that was recorded
It's
on
released.
the album.
It's a DVD. It's on the CD and the DVD. It's
Yeah,
cringy.
DVD
As like cringy as it makes me to listen to it, because it's like, oh yeah, but no. My wife and I are huge fans.
Okay.
I love those guys genuinely, and same kind of thing. Got introduced to their music. First time I saw Audio Adrenaline was opening for DC Talk on the Free at Last tour, and at the time, my parents and we were kids. This was like '93, whatever it was. Really gravitated to that "Don't Censor Me" record. Was like, this is awesome. And this was kind of pre-Big House popping. It was like when they were starting, and we were doing out at Hendersonville. We're doing these TBN specials, and we invited Audio A, and really became friends with them. I mean, that's legitimately. So that's 1993. So that's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Over 30. Yeah, 30 years ago. It's crazy. And I talked to Mark today. You know, like these are people who. That's what I said with Christian music. It's so cool, and. My wife was also a huge fan. Obviously, I met her much later. I was not 10 years old. And I met her backstage at the Dove Awards. So that all ties in.
Yeah.
So again, like I have like this connective tissue with Christian music that has always been there. So I met her. I was doing Logan Show stuff backstage, and she was one of like the talent wranglers. So bring me like my guests.
Yeah.
And she'll tell a story that's like, you know, I physically ran into her, which is true, and that I was not very nice. But it was a long day.
You were just playing hard to get.
Well, it's like you guys have done like 10 interviews today. It's the same kind of thing. Like eventually you get worn out.
Right.
So this is that. And I had already like embarrassed myself majorly quite a few times in front of people that I love. And the one that I always go back to, and I had a talk with Sanctus guys about this recently, is I was a huge fan. So this was 2004, 2005, whenever it was, something like that. I was a huge fan of Fight the Tide, their record. I think it's one of the best of that era. It's my favorite Christian music record of that sort of early 2000s. And I was pumped. Like, to become friendly with them was like cool to me, because I thought, this is, I mean, Matt's voice is sick. Chris is incredible. This is just a great, Mark, everyone, this is a great band. And they won Best New Artist, I believe. Maybe it was album of the, I think it was Best New Artist. And I had them like this. It was just like this. And I'm like, I'm here with Building 429.
Oh,
and
That's
Matt,
awesome.
in the most subtle, like but satirical way, just passes me the card that they just got. This is Best New Artist, Sanctus Reed. And I look at it and I go, what? And he goes, you called us Building 429. I was like, oh, you know, and that kind of set our relationship off. And it's like, I was like, oh no, I've ruined it with these guys.
It's amazing.
But yeah, so back to Audio A, was friendly with them. My wife is a huge fan. It's a huge part of her story, and really her faith journey was kind of through that band as well. So we kind of bonded in that. And it came down to it was time to get engaged. And I rang up Mark, and I was like, Mark, I know this is your, this dip, but I know there's a part where people come up on stage. How do you feel about this? And we were friendly enough to like, it wouldn't have been weird to ask. And he was like, I'm totally down. And then like a day before, I'm like, I get on the plane to Hawaii. I got an email from their manager who was like, not going to happen.
Oh, man.
And I was like, what? He's like, it's not going to happen. We're not doing this. And I was like,
Oh, man.
okay. So I called Mark. I was like, Mark, I've already booked my trip to Hawaii. I already got the ring and all this. So I'm willing to figure something else out. And then he got on the phone with the right person, and it obviously worked out. It was fine. And I did the last interview with them, Mark's last interview when the band was still together. And it's a pretty emotional, interesting interview from now, looking back on it. It was 16, 17 years ago now. And then I was highly involved in the reboot of Audio A. I documented that whole thing with Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
And I loved doing that.
Yeah.
I was involved with it very early on, when before even Kevin, I think, had officially signed on. I was talking with them, and it was like the worst kept secret in Nashville that was happening. It was everyone knew, and all of us were under NDAs. So people would talk about it. We're like,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's
yeah, I don't
crazy.
know. And I think that Kings and Queens, that record, that first one with Kevin, I guess it was the only one with Kevin.
one, yeah.
Only one with Kevin, I think is a great record. I was there when they recorded the whole thing. You can hear me on one of them on King of the Comebacks. There's like a chanting part. That's me there at the end. Me and a group of like 10 others, but for some reason you can really hear me.
Hear you.
And it was really cool. And then to see what they've done with Hands and Feet Project, I mean, they're doing an event here next month. We're always yearly supporters of what they do. And like I said, they're those guys that stick out in Christian music that I go, well, they're not that anyone's illegitimate. I'm not saying that, but they're the guys who have lived it and breathed it their entire lives.
Yeah.
There's none of this crazy, conversations of them leaving their faith or anything like that. It's like Mark and Will have been incredibly consistent. The guys in Sanctus have been incredibly consistent. Even if they've split up, they're still like, they're those guys. And I gravitate to that. I gravitate to the ones that I felt like were not only being true then, but we're in it for the right reasons, and still you can still see it in what they're doing, even if they're not in music.
There's like longevity.
And they care about not only their audience and what they built, but they also care about the future of Christian media or whatever this may evolve into, in a way that's unabashedly faith based, and that I always appreciate. The Jingle Smells has definitely faith-based hard moments where it's like, this is a Christian movie. It's certainly not like the main focus of the story,
right?
But maybe it is, and then there's a reveal kind of thing,
right?
But I think that the move into Christian, I think Christian movies are now at the point where Christian music was in the mid '90s, which was now all of a sudden. And I think this helps. The technology has gotten better, so things cost less to make.
Sure.
But the technology is better, so we can make smaller movies that don't look bad.
Yeah.
And people are wanting to work on them. That was the craziest part to me. If this wasn't during the SAG strike, I mean, the cast we got with what was going on. A lot of these actors were not working with SAG, or any of this. It was wild. It was wild. Who wants to work in faith-based entertainment?
Right.
And so much so that I'm like, man, I can't wait for the next one because. I mean, a lot of these guys were friends. John Schneider, who's like from the Dukes of Hazzard and Smallville, he's like been another one who's been our friend forever. But there's people in this. Jim Brewer, I never met him. Never met until the day he walked on set. But I was so happy that they were thrilled with the concept. So
When can people see this movie?
Yeah.
And where?
Probably depends on when this airs.
Okay.
So
next week.
If it airs next week, for real? Okay, it airs next week. Go to jinglesmells.movie, which is the domain. We will be, if this airs next week, we'll be making an announcement, I would say in the next 2 or 3 weeks if you're listening to this live. I cannot say just yet when it's coming, but it will be available to stream and available on DVD, because some people still do that. Available on both of those.
What's a DVD?
I wish, when they rolled out the numbers to me of how many people are still picking up DVDs, I was like, whoa.
Can you do Laserdisc?
I wish. Yeah.
Well, Best Buy apparently is getting rid of DVDs.
Yeah, a lot of these like direct to home, so like you can get them shipped to you.
Sure.
So there's a lot of people that still do that, or they buy them for collector's pieces, signed, that kind of thing. It will all be available on jinglesmells.movie, and it will be available to stream this year with an exclusive provider that I cannot say just yet.
That's all right.
But you're not going to have to, it will be a rent or buy, or it'll be a buy per type concept. So it won't be on like a subscription base. This is a one-time. This year, it's available to buy and stream it on demand. We'll be announcing that really soon. I'm thrilled with it. I'm thrilled with who we're signing with. I just can't say it just yet. I wish I could.
That's fine.
But it will all be available through our website. So it'll be able to stream likely, I'll just hint it out there, sometime in the Thanksgiving-ish window. So maybe you're sitting back, you get Thanksgiving dinner, y'all are all chilling out. Maybe Jingle Smells will be available for you guys to purchase. If not then maybe the next day, maybe on Black Friday. So
there you go.
You'll find out more and more. We're going to make an official announcement here in the next couple weeks. Guys, we put this thing together so fast. I got to give it up to the team that did it. I was obviously a part of it, but it's a huge crew because this movie got greenlit in July.
Yeah.
Greenlit in July, shot in the end of August, edited between now and right now. I'm legitimately going back to the office to watch the latest cut. And then it will be out in a number of weeks. That also shows you technology and how things have moved. But mainly what I want to say is that it really shows that you don't have to do things within some sort of Hollywood system. You don't have to do things this way. If you have a phone, go make yourself a movie. Yeah. You know what you're doing. Just this is the new wave of entertainment, right. Especially for faith-based entertainment and faith-based entertainment that also wants to make some cultural statements. Mm-hmm. Because you'll have that. You'll have a lot of, look, even in Christian music, there's plenty of overlords, let's say, that are there to make sure people stay in line, and sometimes they need to. But then there's people like us who are willing to go out and make content that is specifically targeted to an audience, and there's no one telling us no. So it's much like any of these movies that have come out last year. This hopefully is a statement piece too for people to go, yeah, this is totally different than what's happening in Hollywood. We're making a statement by watching it, and by the way, also it's good and it's funny and it's entertaining. It's not just a throwaway making a statement piece. It's actually, I believe in this movie, and I'm excited. And I'm excited what it also means for the next few years and other projects that we have coming up. Because if this one's a success and we can show and we can prove that you can make look, at the end of the day, it has to be a financially successful movie. You want that to happen. If you can show that can happen on an independent scale without anyone above, say, like, we're the studio heads.
Right.
We can change the game. I always say change the playbook, change the rules, change the game. We can do that. And we can do that now in Hollywood. Christian music was able to do it back in the 90s with even like Tooth and Nail. Yeah. Think of it that way. That was, to me, the game-changing moment to me for Christian music was, yes, I loved Audio Adrenaline, I loved Easy Talk, I loved all that. But then the Tooth and Nail label came out with that first batch of albums, and I bought every single one of them, me and my brother. And I was like, this can be Christian music. This can be what it can be. Yeah. I hopefully feel like that's what's happening in the movie industry, which is Jesus Revolution is awesome. I loved it. Like, I genuinely loved it. It's probably my favorite faith-based movie. And I like those guys. I like the everyone. But like, we're not that.
Yeah.
We're so totally different. So maybe we're the tooth and nail to their forefront.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right, guys.
Well, real quick before we close.
No, I'm here all day.
I want to let's do, Logan, if you listen to our show, we like to do favorite things.
Sure.
So we want to get to know, our listeners get to know you a little better. So I'm going to start with, what is your favorite food?
Favorite food? Oh, man. How is this like not on the tip of my tongue? I'm a French fry guy, as you can tell. And so much so that I got
What's your go-to French fry?
So there's 3 French fry guys here right now.
Yeah, I know. But like, that's it. Like, if I could say like, what's my like downfall, it's French fries. But I love them. Fast food go-to French fries, probably a McDonald's French fry. Maybe a Chick-fil-A French fry. Maybe go a little, you know what? Sleeper is a Bojangles. Bojangles fries, top-notch fry. Top-notch fry. I'm going to go Bojangles fries. But so much so, I know this has got to be fast. I just got to tell you this because it's funny. No. I got an Uber Eats delivery McDonald's yesterday. My kids, we just got home from the beach. It was like a family vacation. And they're like, kids all want McDonald's. I'm too tired. I'm like, I'm ordering an Uber Eats delivered. And I get a message. The guy goes, in all of my 20,000 deliveries, this is the largest McDonald's order I've ever received. By the way, it was 5 meals. They did separate it weirdly, but it was one of those like, oh no, I feel real in shape. When they're like, this guy legitimately shamed me. And he's like my normal guy. And he's like, oh yeah, thanks for the good tip as always. I'm like, not next time, buddy. I know he's probably listening too. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. You can find that on my Instagram. I posted it. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite movie of all time?
Ghostbusters is my favorite movie of all time.
Wait, not the remake, right?
No. Okay. No. If we start that, then this will be a Carman conversation, and this will go on for an hour.
It's not bad, the new one.
Well, the new. Which one are we talking about? Afterlife? I loved Afterlife. The last one.
Yes. No, I'm not talking about the
2016
one.
Yeah, the answer the call.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not about any of those. And I'll cut this off quick because Ghostbusters is my favorite movie, and I will speak passionately about it. Is Ghostbusters, and not dissimilar to our movie, not to tie back in, is about people that truly love each other and that are really good friends. And where I think 2016 missed the boat is that those 4 characters kind of hated each other. And because they kind of hated each other, you missed the camaraderie of the original, which was you had a nerdy scientist, you had a crazy kind of friend, and you had the suave whatever, and you had these 4 group of guys who shouldn't have been friends but were best friends. Mm-hmm. And there was never a part in that movie where they weren't best friends.
Right.
So much so when they say, like, I'll see you on the other side, like, you feel it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where 2016 missed it. And that's where I think Afterlife really nailed it. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the next one. Yeah. So that's my short answer.
What's your favorite show to binge?
Favorite show to binge? I'm a big Frasier fan.
Okay.
Frasier. And Frasier's back, and it's great. Obviously, I love Kelsey Grammer, and I love I love that show. So that show we watched pretty aggressively when my wife was pregnant with our twins, and I will always tie those 2 together. So Frasier's the one that jumps out at me as the go-to.
Do you have who's your favorite obscure Christian band that you listen to that when you mention, no one else knows who they are? Do you have one of those?
Yeah. Maybe Joe Christmas.
Okay.
You know that? No?
No.
Rocket Boy, or trying to like these are all sort of like sub-Tooth and Nail bands.
Okay.
What's the robot one?
The robot one.
Cakewalk?
No. Robots and what's the Rivers and Robots?
I don't think I know Rivers and Robots.
Did you remember Squad 5-0?
Oh, well, okay. This is a problem document or problem interview with me because like he's going. So Squad 5-0. I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. Okay. Squad 5-0 was like our hometown heroes. My brother's band, their little band used to open for them all the time. This little club called the Pterodactyl. And I got to give love to Squad 5-0 because they have a new record that came out last year Solid Gold that is a great record. And they have a documentary coming out, and I'm in it.
Oh, awesome.
Me and my brother are in it. Not very long, but we're in it. Our shout out to Caleb who directed it, and because I love Squad 5-0.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't go. I went too obscure for your answer. I went like so obscure that no one will know. But and those bands were like sort of on the borderline of Christian music. Squad, I think, really was, and they made big statements then. And again, seemed like I don't know them, but seem like decent guys now. And I think that doc's coming out next or later this year, or early next. So I love Squad 5-0.
If you was to have a dream lineup in a movie, who would it be?
What do you mean, cast-wise? Cast-wise, Bill Murray, my favorite. I'm going to put Kelsey Grammer in there because I love him. Let me think here. Bill Murray, Kelsey Grammer. I'm trying to think of who I love. I mean, okay, here I'll put because he was in my movie, so why not? John Schneider, I think is such a good actor, and he's so good in our movie, so I put Schneider in there. I have been dreaming up an idea for a Christian movie, and maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but whatever. Like a what? I'll put it out there. And let you see if they come up with me. I want to do like a power team movie about.
Oh man!
But it's not what you think.
Okay.
It's an action adventure movie, and I have it mapped out. But I want it to star like Schneider, Sorbo, Kane. Like I want it.
Dennis Quaid.
Kirk Cameron. I don't even know if I want it to be like the Christian movies we grew up on. Like those guys, maybe the kid from McGee and Me.
The Expendables,
I don't know.
Christian version.
Exactly. No, that's exactly what it is. And I have it written out.
You got to get Chuck Norris then.
Oh, why not? I'll bring them all in. And I have an idea that's based around the power team because my family used to tour again with them too.
Oh,
if you don't know what they are, they were a Christian muscle bound.
You have
Just
a
Google
phone
it.
book that's
There's
going
a
to be broken.
high possibility. There's a high likely that our listeners
No,
know who
they
the
know
power
the
team
is.
are. Yeah.
So John Jacobs, the power team, and the phone books. So a quick funny story because I'm just going to keep going. Is we were on tour with them. I'm a kid. I'm like 7, and we're staying in Panama City Beach at this hotel, and we open up the door, and the power team had stacked all of the phone books up the ceiling. They all fell into our room. Okay, off of that. But I can't believe I said that out loud. I probably shouldn't say it, but you know what? I'm putting it out to the universe. If you're listening and you're part of the power team, I want to make this happen. That's my next one.
Nice.
People laugh at it, but whatever. It'll be next.
Let's do it.
Because again, I believe in it. Like I think that there was power in what was going on, especially in that time period. And I think that we can have fun with it. We can obviously poke holes and goof on it a little.
Sure.
I actually think there's some heart to really what got a lot of us into Christian music or Christian media. And I have a McGee and Me cell on my wall in my office. Why? Because it meant something to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't just entertainment. It really did. I look at it and go, oh, that's cool. And only 2 exist.
Wow.
And I got one of them.
Nice.
2 exist that have got from my other big McGee and Me collector, the 2 that made it into the wild, and I have one of them.
The other one? Who knows?
And by the way, that fan base I feel like is pretty small. That's like really looking for them. But
Okay, I made a McGee and
Me.
Me reference in a youth group sermon like 2 months ago.
Yeah. There's no way they got
the movie where the tornado came in and the tree. You
Sure,
remember that?
sure, yeah.
Yeah, I made that reference, and they were like, "Dude, you were so homeschooled when you were growing up."
I know. I mean, I have a sealed VHS copy of that thing. I mean, that's the collector I am.
I know, right?
And I'm wearing a Riot shirt, for goodness sake. I mean, this is...
Remind us again where to go to get information on Jingle Smells.
Sure.
And one more time.
You can search on social media too. We have Facebook and Instagram, Jingle Smells Movie. And the domain though, they'll take you everywhere is Jingle Smells, like Jingle Bells, but smells like stinks because it's a garbage man movie. Jingle Smells .movie. I know that's hard for people to understand, but that is what people are doing right now. It's the trend in the Hollywood industry is .movies. So movie. So go to Jingle Smells .movie, and it'll be available likely through an exclusive provider, premiering on an exclusive provider, and then who knows next year. But this year, there's going to be a one-stop shop for it, and I look forward to everyone seeing it.
What would have been nice is if you did Jingle Smells .smells.
Oh, that's a good idea. I wonder if that exists. Can I get .smells?
Well, thanks, Logan, so much, man, for coming by and chatting with us.
Thank you, guys. I really do. I appreciate what you guys do. I love the podcast, and I love that you are a voice in this world now, and I think it's so cool. Enjoy your week here or whatever it is, and see all your friends and family, and tell them you're famous now and all those kind of things. All right, guys. Thanks.
Thanks.